We just saw Before I Go to Sleep, and on this show I take my friends, we go see a movie, we review it in the car, and then we have a discussion. The review part is spoiler free, so if you're on the fence trying to decide if you want to see this movie, watch the first half and we'll kind of give you an idea of who this movie we think would enjoy it and who wouldn't. And then if you've already seen the movie or don't care about spoilers and just want to know everything that we think, watch the whole video because we'll get into more spoilers and plot details after that break. So for the review part, the trailer for this movie is very ambiguous and it kind of needs to be out of necessity because it's a story about a person with recurring amnesia. Every morning when Nicole Kidman's character wakes up, she's forgotten everything that's happened the day before. For a lot of people, that will be an automatic, I don't want to see that. My wife included. There's a lot of people that just don't like amnesia as a plot device in a movie. That wasn't particularly annoying about this film. I did feel that they treated it well enough that there was enough suspense to it that you didn't get annoyed with the fact that, you know, there were resets, because there were several times where it kind of reset everything. But then they figured out a way to sort of artificially fix that so that there wasn't quite so much backtracking happening, that there was actual forward momentum being had. And it becomes a, you know, sort of a mystery of what happened to her, who can she trust, who can't she trust, all of that sort of thing. The storyline was good. It wasn't great. It was good. I enjoyed it. I followed it just fine. I didn't shake my head and go, no, sorry, I don't understand, don't get this. None of it irritated me. None of it got under my skin. But it also just felt like not necessarily something that I've seen before, but something that's just very kind of a by the numbers sort of story. I think it said it was based on a novel at the end or something like that. It seems like this isn't about to the quality of the movie or anything like that, but it seems like the type of movie that you would see on the Lifetime Network, that kind of woman in peril sort of a story. Nicole Kidman is pretty good in it. I mean, she does a pretty good scared and confused, like she did in The Others and Stoker, which Stoker I think is kind of underrated. That's a movie I would recommend much higher over this one. But at any rate, if you're trying to decide if you should see this movie, I think it'll have a lot to do with how much you like Nicole Kidman. If you like her in general in movies, you'll probably think this movie is just fine. Colin Firth is just fine in it. Other than that, without getting into spoilers about what happens and how it happens, my biggest concern with something like this is watching it and being bored, or watching it and feeling that it's getting repetitive or that kind of thing. That never really got to me or never really bothered me, and I did sort of figure out how it was going to end up, say 2/3 of the way through the movie, but that's not even necessarily a bad thing. I think that it's something that it was a safe ending. I guess I'll put it that way. It was an ending that you can walk away from not feeling depressed about. But it's hard to really talk about it more than that. Otherwise, I say, if it didn't look interesting to you in the trailer, or you have problems watching Nicole Kidman movies, I'd give it a pass. So that's what I think. What do you guys think?
I couldn't be more on the other side of the fence. I absolutely hated it. It was just terrible pretty much from the word go. Gosh, any type of movie with amnesia is going to be compared to Memento. If you haven't seen Memento, watch it. If you have seen Memento, watch it again instead of this. It was horrible. The performances were phoned in. Nicole Kidman just had bloodshot eyes, and that was it. That was the depth of the acting. It was Colin Firth was phoning it in, and he was still the best part of the movie. The using amnesia as a plot device is okay with me, but do it better than what you're doing. I'll go more in depth in the spoilers, but it was terrible. It was just absolutely horrible.
All right.
I'm probably somewhere in the middle, more towards Dale's. I thought that the performances were solid, if just they were fine. The story was intriguing, but somewhere along the way, I probably lost a bit of engagement, and it seemed boring. There was one reveal that I did not see coming, but it was quickly vanished away in the kind of hodgepodge of everything else that was going on. So if it's on TV, it would be worth a watch, but I wouldn't specifically recommend going out to see it. Even though it's okay, I don't think it's bad, but I just think it's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's like a not terrible way to spend your time. Like if you're bored on some afternoon,
sure,
it's
yeah,
on cable.
Yeah, if it's on, it's worth seeing to see what happens.
It's worth watching to check it out.
But
anyway, that's the review section. If you want to go see the movie, don't let us spoil anything, because most of the movie is spoilers as a result of the whole amnesia plot. So, and if you're not interested in watching it at all and you want to know why we're kind of on the fence about it, we'll get into that here. So, I did know before we went into the movie that the performances, especially Nicole Kidman, has been getting a lot of grief about being sort of wooden and one note and not really all that engaged. And I watched kind of looking for that, and what I felt was that she kind of did the best she could with the story that she had. She had to pretend like she was getting this information new every single time. It wasn't affecting her any more or less every single time. So that's a really hard...
That's got to be hard to do, take after take,
It's hard to do, and it's also something where I can see the audience not really giving you a lot of credit for it, because they're experiencing the movie in a way that you're not. Your character is not experiencing the story. So... that I think that criticism is something that people see or not, depending on whether they're looking for it or whether they're affected by it. And I also had heard that there were some people that had complained about how every so often she would kind of lose her accent a little bit. She's Australian, and the film is set in the UK. Colin Firth has kind of that the same sort of barely there accent that he normally has, and hers, like, every once in a while she would throw out a British sounding vowel with the rest of her performance seeming more in line with his, or sounding more American or Mid-Atlantic or whatever you want to call it. But there were some inconsistencies in a couple of scenes. I thought the reveal of, Colin Firth as... I think they did a good job of, going back and forth between...
We can do
we don't
spoilers
trust...
now, right?
Yeah, we're in there.
Yeah.
We don't trust him, we do trust him, we don't trust him,
Yeah.
we do trust him.
See,
Although-
I didn't feel that way. I felt that they telegraphed it the entire time. By, I'd say, 10 minutes in, I knew who was lying, and it was... I don't know.
Did you think the doctor was telling the truth the whole time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I was just, everything to me from the beginning pointed to Colin Firth, especially, and this is a major plot point later in the movie. She has these pictures on her wall, on her bathroom wall, the entire time. If they give the audience kind of a close-up view, and they're horribly, horribly photoshopped. They're just terribly photoshopped. So you can tell that Colin Firth is not supposed to be in these pictures.
Or that they just didn't do a very good job. Because I've seen plenty of movies where they Photoshop people together.
True. And then, of course, that comes up later as a plot point that she notices that he's not supposed to be in the pictures.
Right.
And so, right off the bat, I'm convinced that Colin Firth is a bad guy.
Oh, yeah, that didn't...
But the one reveal to me I didn't see coming was the nature of what he was. He was actually the guy that had beat her up and was not her husband at all, and that was a bit of a...
There's two
I didn't see that coming.
I thought there were two very well won twists in the movie. One was that he's not Ben at all, and that he's actually
imposter.
the guy that attacked her and set all of this in motion, and that he's basically pulled off like a one-man conspiracy to keep her, locked up and kept and
taking advantage of her
whatever he's
situation.
getting out of it. I loved that he couldn't live like that anymore.
Right.
By the end of the movie, like, he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
He's like, we have to start being, Mike, and
They had an affair before, and
Yeah.
he was and he did care for her. He just was a bit of a psycho at the same time.
That was my favorite part of the movie.
so I thought that twist really worked, and the other twist that I thought really worked was the reveal that the son was still alive, which I think that the demographic of people that this movie is targeted for, I think that will be a very resonant
Sure.
thing for them. Like,
Now that the movie ends like that, which I felt the movie did seem a bit like pasted on. Did you feel like that? Because once Colin Firth was out of the picture, it just suddenly became
she figured out that her son was still alive.
Yeah.
Because he slipped.
the way he said,
He slipped when they were talking. He said,
he won't remember you or something.
Yeah,
like
he
that.
doesn't remember
Yeah, he
you,
doesn't
or-
remember you.
he doesn't love you anymore.
Which was the
or
opposite
whatever.
of the truth.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few things that bothered me throughout the picture, and one was every time something came up that cast doubt on Colin Firth, he said the same exact thing, and she just blindly accepted it. Why didn't you tell me I was attacked and not in an accident? I didn't want to upset you.
You'd handle it.
Okay. Why? Oh, what's with our son? He's dead. Why didn't you tell me? I didn't think you could handle it. Why is Claire abandoned me? I didn't think you could handle it. The same exact excuse, and she's just like, oh, okay.
Well, I mean, again, on the one hand, we're not experiencing the story the same way that she is.
True.
That's part of it. The other part of it is that fairly early on in the movie, he sort of snaps and says, I can't do this every day. I have good days, I have bad days. Some days it is easier for me to lie to you.
And at that point, we don't know the extent of the hoops he's running through.
But we understand him. Like,
Yeah.
that would be horrible to have to do that every day.
Yeah.
And so,
Sure.
for us watching the story, I think that scene's important, and it's early enough in the movie that it's there to sort of give us that shadow of doubt that, yeah, he is kind of telling her the same thing every time, but, he's been doing this for 4 years.
Yeah.
He knows what works. He knows what he needs to say. He knows, how much to reveal and how much not to, and, the variations in how she'll react to it. So.
His character to me seemed a little bit inconsistent in that, if he could do that methodical thing every day, you think of all the routine he would have to put together for that, and then to just suddenly snap with that trigger situation where he beats her and he's ready to do that again. It felt a little bit, I don't know.
But every time she goes to sleep, she wakes up and doesn't remember what happened. She wakes up with the bruise in the present, when it finally comes back to the beginning scene.
Yeah.
She wakes up with that bruise and she doesn't remember why she has that bruise. So you get sort of this pattern of, every once in a while he gets violent.
He snaps and okay. Yeah.
She doesn't have any way to connect it to him, so he's always got an explanation. He's always got the answer.
Yeah.
Because he needs to be somewhat unglued, right? To be this person that's keeping her around in his house just for whatever. For whatever reason that, he felt like he needed a...
Kind of like a pet in a sense.
I guess.
Huh.
That seems like way more trouble than it's worth than just having an actual...
See, in that
girlfriend,
sense, it almost becomes a bit like a horror movie.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it would be hard to categorize what this movie is. That's kind of why I said it seems like a woman in peril sort of movie.
Mm-hmm. Kind of a drama, thriller, horror kind of situation.
But it's not really scary, from a horror perspective. It's just more of a
from the personal horror, I guess.
Yeah.
Sleeping with the enemy with amnesia.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that was before I go to sleep. If you like the way we do these reviews, please like the video, subscribe, check out all the written and video reviews we do of movies and all kinds of stuff at dalemaxfield.com, and thanks for watching.